Hello everyone, this is Civilization 6, Sid Meier's game. He's a game developer that's very famous in strategy games. This is one of my favorite games. For playing this game, multiplayer mode is available on the internet. You can see here there's a lot of games available. Just know that if you choose one of these, it's quite a commitment. These are usually, although they're small games, they will be long. You'll be here for a while, so I typically don't do that. I prefer single player mode. Now, under single player mode, if you press the play now button, the computer will just generate something very quickly. You won't have any options. You'll just get dumped onto a small continent with 3 or 4 competitors, and you just have to work it out. You don't know what you're going to get, but it's fun. Scenarios. This is the downloadable content. All the scenarios. Each DLC. There have been 4 so far on this game, and each one of them introduces a new civilization, and they give you a scenario to introduce you to the civilization. And each one of these has special rules, but they show you how it's a great way of learning the special abilities of either Poland. This is Alexander is Macedonia, and I think Persia is involved in that. Outback Tycoon, this is Australia, and then Vikings, Traders, and Raiders, this is the Vikings, obviously. So there's like 5 or 6 new civilizations that have been introduced through downloadable content, and those have been added to the game. All right, so I prefer to go by customizing my own game. I use the advanced setup here. All right, first thing I do is choose the map size, map type. Okay, so there's 8 options on most of these. This island plates is the one that gives you the most Earth-like without actually being Earth. If you want Earth, you can choose here. Fractal, is going to be very computer generated. So I like that one too. Continents, a few large land masses. So anyway, you can explore these on your own for now. For this game, I'm going to choose island plates. I'm going to make it large. When you do that, the computer, based on that map type and map size, it's going to know how many civilizations it should put. I'm going to delete a lot of these because I want this game to go fairly quickly. So we may just go with maybe 4 of us for now. And then city-states are... there are other players in the game. The AI runs, however, they never expand beyond one city. You can use throughout the game. You can set up trade with these guys, or if you want, you can just take over them and add them as a city. But you'll suffer consequences for doing that. I'm going to drop this down to maybe 3 or 4 as well. I don't want a lot of those. Game speed, basically, if you put it on standard, that's where I usually keep it. However, if you move it for quick, then the game just moves along quicker, and obviously Epic will slow it down. And when I say slow it down, I mean it may take 20 turns to build a building that under standard would take only 10 turns. However, the time also goes by slow. So when I say it would take 50 years to build a building, it would still take 50 years under Epic. It just, the time goes slower. That's really the only way. But as a result, the only advantage to me in using Epic or Marathon to slow things down is because you have more turns. If you have a huge army, then you can do a lot of things during those turns. So it just allows you to micromanage them more. I don't really want to do that, so we're going to keep it at standard. Game difficulty level, there are 8 levels here. I'm going to stick right in the middle with Prince, which is a default. Rules, each one of the DLCs has its own set of rules. You can choose any of those. However, I'm going to go with standard rules. You can explore those on your own. Resources, I'll put on abundant. Everything else here affects you can set the age of the world, the starting position of the players to be either legendary, standard, or balanced. Temperature of the planet, hot, cold, all this stuff right down here really affects the terrain how much desert you have, how much tundra you have, how much mountains. Anyway, that's really what that does. Okay, victory conditions. Typically, there are 5 victory conditions to win this game. The one I want to talk about quickly is the score victory. The standard is 500 turns. So if you leave this by game speed, then the game will end in 500 turns, and if nobody gets a culture victory, domination, religious, or science victory, and the game lasts through the entire 500 turns without any of those 4 conditions being met, then the person with the highest score will be the victor. So you can customize that by extending the turn limits beyond 500, or you can just have no turn limit at all, which eliminates that as a victory ability, and then the game will simply continue until somebody in the game meets these 4 conditions. So for now, we'll just leave it at game speed and leave it alone. Okay, so down here you have some more options. If somebody gets killed off, if you have the ability to respawn leaders, so there are always 4. I'm not going to do that. If somebody dies in this game, they're just gone. There'll just be 1 fewer. You can make allies, and then you can share maps with them. I'm not going to do that. You can also eliminate barbarians, tribal villages. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave everything open so you can see everything on this board. Okay, so leaders. These are all the different leaders that you've got. So if you leave this at random, the computer obviously is going to choose one for you. So, and the computer usually will choose 4 that are complementary to each other, I've noticed. However, I think I want to play Alexander. What you'll notice is that each leader has unique abilities and features. So Alexander's he has 2 unique military units. He has a unique building. He has a unique feature for the entire civilization called Hellenistic fusion, which we will go into later, but it basically anytime he captures a city, then he gets a eureka and an inspiration. And also the 2 worlds in up here at the top, anytime he captures a city, all of his wounded soldiers, particularly these 2, the Hypapsist and the Hetauroi, those 2 will completely heal after he captures a city. He has no war weariness as well. So he is designed to be a shock and awe type leader. He is very war focused and expansionist. So that's who Alexander is more than anybody else in the game. Other leaders in the game, you can set them here, but other leaders in the game they're all going to have special abilities. Australia has the ability to build outback stations, which can be built on basically desert squares for the outback, but they get extra production and food, particularly when they're attached near a cattle ranch. Anyway, a lot of these, each one has its own unique abilities. There are advantages to all of them. For now, for a quick game, I'm going to play Alexander. So let's get going.
From the first stirrings of life beneath water.
Okay, that voice you hear is Sean Bean. He is on the Game of Thrones. He plays Ned Stark. So basically, he's just reading the description of Alexander while the computer creates our game board.
Alexander, beneath your sword shall Macedonia spread throughout the world. Every kingdom shall be a unique challenge to overcome, but the rewards will be great if you remain true and brave. Turn away from peace, for there is no way to establish your legacy but from conquering vast lands. Charge, Alexander, and lead your people to glory.
Okay, he's done. We're waiting still for the game to finish. So Alexander, if you know your history, he was young. He died, I think, at early 30s. So he had about 10 years of raping and pillaging through the Middle East, and he was quite a little handsome young man, according to the graphic designers at this game. All right, begin game. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to save this real quick. This is Alexander. Here we go. All right, so just to explain a little bit about the interface here, down here on the bottom right hand, this is the button that toggles among the active units. And because this is a turn-based game, at the end, once all the units have gone and you've been able to do everything you can do, then this is the button also that will move to the next turn. All right, so this is where the active settler unit, the game begins with a settler unit and a warrior unit. You also, if you click up here, you'll have information on Alexander, his special abilities, and as you meet other players, you'll see them spread out here, and you can quickly look and check them out. Here, this is victory conditions or world rankings. Right now there are only 4 players. We are everybody has exactly the same spot, so you'll notice you can check how everybody's doing, progress towards a religious victory, domination, culture, science, and a score victory. All right. Okay, and we're 15. We put this at 500 turns. That'll take a while to get through. I'll divide this video into 30-minute segments. 4000 BC is where we start. Okay, over on the top right-hand side, the currency in this game is either science, culture, faith, gold, and right now also envoys, which comes into play for the city-states. And then we also have 2 different trees. One is a technology tree, and the currency here is science. So you can see how many, this takes 25 science, 20, right, and as you go through, it's divided into 8 different epochs. Classical era, medieval, all the way up down to the future technology. All right. Then you also have code of laws. These are earned through the accumulation of culture. So on the culture tree, again, it's divided into 8 different eras, but there aren't as many culture advancements. But culture advancements give you these. This is where your government comes into play in this game. These are government policy abilities. So that's what you gain, and we will explain this a little bit more as we go along. All right. And then this is just a mini map down here, and there's a lot of filters. I'm not going to get into that right now. There's too much. I could be talking forever about this. So I'm just going to place the city here. However, when you check it out, well, the thing I want to point out is for this particular civilization, you remember that we have 2 unique. And let me just look at this again. We have 2 unique military units. There is the Hatoroi, and the Hypaspist. I'm not sure how to pronounce either one of those. I assume they're Macedonian or Greek. Anyway, those are the 2. So if we're going to be Alexander, then we are going to have to go to war, or else we're not going to win. That's the commitment that we're making. So how do we gain the technology as quickly as possible to build those 2 units? So this is the first one. This is a Hatoroi. He's here. So it looks like he comes in the classical era. And then there is the Hypaspis, and he is also in the same era. So these guys here. So how do we get to these guys? So we're going to have to follow along. We're going to have to get animal husbandry, archery, and then horseback riding. And for this one, we'll get mining, bronze working, and iron working. So that's what we need to do. All right. So one other thing to point out is each one of these technologies, there is the ability to get a boost. And when you, every single one of them except for the first three. So, and this is the same also for the civics trees. You'll see also there are boosts. If you fulfill the requirements here, like improve 3 tiles, then you will get a 50% boost to craftsmanship. That is significant. So what we want to do, if we want to get our technology quickly for horseback riding and ironworking, is that we need to get the technology boost. We need to kill a unit with a slinger, and then we need to build a pasture. Down here, we need to kill 3 barbarians and build an iron mine. So those are the 4 things that we need to do that will help guide us quickly. I mean, we can reduce the time by 50% on these 2 and get these quickly. So the quicker that we get these 2 military units, the quicker that we can go out and start raping and pillaging the countryside. So I'll stop right there with that. We're going to settle this city. All right, so when you settle a city, it immediately shows you 1 tile in circumference. You can buy additional tiles. It would cost you 50 gold. I don't have 50 gold right now. And the range of a city is usually, right, for as far as your workers goes, it's 2 tiles, but as far as influence goes, I think it goes out to 3. So we'll discover that together, but I believe it goes out to 3. All right. Manage citizens here. This is something I rarely do, but for the purpose of this video, I will show you that this city has 1 citizen right now. And it will grow in 7 turns to 2 citizens, but this is where the computer is deciding it needs to work here because it's 2 growth and 1 production. Here over on the cattle it would be 3 food, and you can, through this bar, you can emphasize either production or food, or tell it not to. So you can micromanage this at any level you want. You can wait a minute. So here we go. So within the city, we can set it a production queue. For now, I believe we need to set a builder, and then I think we need to send this warrior out to explore the area. All right. So I just got a boost, having discovered another continent. So apparently, this right here is a completely different continent. If you hover it over, it will show that this is the continent of Valbara, whereas this continent is Lemuria. So because I discovered a new continent, I got a quick boost, and you can see that in here. Where is it? It's not on here, so it must have been under the civics tree. Here it is. It was under foreign trade. See this? So foreign trade, whereas craftsmanship is 30 turns, foreign trade is now only 15 because I completed this requirement for discover a 2nd continent. So anyway, that's how that works. Okay, so you can always come down here, research, and it will tell you if there's anything that needs to be done before your turn is over. So I need to select a research. So for now, if you look at where we are, we need animal husbandry, and we're going to need, in order to get these horses, we're going to need animal husbandry here. So we're going to have to build a pasture on those horses, so we need animal husbandry. That's really clear. That'll give us pasture on these horses and help us toward our, so now we're done. All right, so now we're going to continue to search. We're just gonna cattle. And let me explain this. Under, I will explain this only once, we won't have to talk about it again. But under, why is it taking 5 turns to grow, and why is it taking 10 turns to build this? So if you click here under toggle display, you'll see how much that this city is creating 2 food plus 2 food, 4 food, and 2 production units. Okay, so that's, and if you look at what we're building, it costs 80 to build. Yeah, to build a builder, it costs 50 production units divided by 2 tells you how many turns it will take, and we have 8 so far. So that's really where that's kind of coming from. All right, so you can click here to look at the details, and this gives you more details than you probably want. I never look at this. However, it says it'll grow from a 1 to a 2 in 5 turns. You'll see that here, and that's because, as I just mentioned, it's producing 4 food, 2 here and 2 here is producing 4 food. Each population unit consumes 2 food per turn. All right, so that's 2. That gives you a net 2. And then because we have a palace in our capital, it's producing 5 gold, 2 production units, 2 science, and 1 culture. It's also making people happy. So that it's giving you a 10% growth because the citizens are happy. So that takes you to 2.2, and there you go, 2.2. And to get to the next population unit of 2, it will take 5 turns to do that. They need to fill this queue up right here to go from a 1 to a 2. So the computer sees that the dark gray is where we are now, the light gray is where we will be when the next turn occurs, which will add 2.2 to it. Okay? All right, so no more of that. We'll continue to explore. Okay, because I selected islands, you'll also see here you can purchase one of these tiles, like I mentioned before. The computer is decided that it wants this. The computer will grow itself, and you can see it will take 2 turns for this border to grow. I've not figured out why or how that happens. So, but you can buy that if you want, but you'll have it in 2 turns, and that's what we want. We want the horse, so we can build pastures. All right. It's here. I'm sure it's here when it talks about growing. There we are. We are now at a 2. But now notice, the computer has now decided that it's going to grow over here, so it's constantly changing. So I just don't pay any attention to that. There we go. So it grew. There we have it.
If there are no dogs in heaven,
all right, so we have our first research completed.
I want to go where they
This gives us the ability to use our builders to build cattle, sheep, and build pastures. You can build a camp over fur, ivory, deer, and truffles, and there is the unique ability that allows for that. This is the builder ability right here, this star. Okay. Okay. All right, so what's next along this path would be either archery or bronze working. We're going to do archery just because it's quicker. So eventually we're going to run into some barbarians around here. So what you see is we are definitely on an island. There's not a lot to be seen in this area. Alright, so there's our first builder. We're going to build our horse, and we're going to continue to explore. And now what are we going to build? Let's build a slinger, because the reason why is because if I can build a slinger, and if I can kill something with a slinger, although I doubt seriously that can happen in 12 turns, I would get this bonus and it would help me out. But I'm not I doubt seriously that I could build it in 7 turns and kill something before that technology is researched. All right. Your builder, there we go. So if you build a pasture here, it will give you +1 production and a ½ point in housing. And because you build a pasture, that turns out to be a boost for horseback riding. There we go. So horseback riding, look at that. And now I have that in 17 turns instead of 34. So that was our boost there. All right, so that helps. All right, wait a minute. Okay, so let's come over here for cattle. Where is computer? Is up here. These cattle are producing 3 food. We'll go ahead and now our builder has the number of. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, we got our first civics achievement, code of laws. So this gives us 4 policy advances: urban planning, God King, survey, and discipline. So those are 2 military and 2 economics. You can tell by the colors. All right, so what we need to do, this is when you get this advancements for civics advancements, is the only time that you can change and adjust those policies. So you should always at least look. Okay, so under this is where the governments come in. So you have 9 different forms of government, and you'll notice that the more detailed forms of government, the more complex forms of government have up to 8 different slots available. Right now we're stuck down in chiefdom because we haven't gotten the policy advances that would allow us. These will come later. So for chiefdom we only have 2. And we have 1 military, so we're going to add this +5 attack when we're fighting barbarians, which will happen soon, and then let's do +1 faith and +1 gold for our capital. All right, there we go. All right. All right, so for our next civilization tree, I'm going to do foreign trade because we'll get that in only 12 turns. We'll continue to explore. I haven't gotten mining yet. I really need to get that. Okay. Okay, so this builder only has 1 build left, so he started out with 3. Later in the game, okay, and that gives us a bonus to craftsmanship. All right, which was here. All right, good, wonderful. Okay, let's send him out. What we are looking for. We will do. I'm going to do another slinger. We need to find some barbarians to kill. We'll have archery in 3 turns. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, so we're going to come down here. Barbarians. All right, this is a barbarian encampment. All right. Okay, you know what? This is a great place to stop. And we'll start back up here in just a second.